Welcome back, everyone, to Chapters Unfolded.
Yes, welcome back.
It's great to have you all here for another deep dive into the world of self-development.
And today we're continuing our journey through hyperfocus.
For those of you who might be joining us for the first time, on Chapters Unfolded, we take a really close look at these powerful books that can help us all grow.
That's right.
And we do it chapter by chapter to make sure we're extracting those golden nuggets of wisdom.
Exactly. Breaking it down, making it actionable.
And today, we're diving deep into Chapter 3. The Power of Hyperfocus. This is episode 4 of our Hyperfocus series.
It's a great chapter.
And a listener actually shared this one with us, specifically looking for strategies to boost productivity without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah. And that's a feeling a lot of us know, right? That feeling of being pulled in a million directions. We all want to get more done, but not feel constantly stressed and overloaded.
Absolutely. So that's our mission today. We're going to unpack the secrets of hyperfocus, those really practical tips and techniques, so you can start applying them right away.
Right.
And before we get started, if you're finding value in these deep dives, in these conversations, please consider subscribing to Chapters Unfolded.
Yes.
And sharing it with your friends, family, colleagues, anyone who you think might benefit from these conversations.
Yes, we want to reach as many people as possible with these incredible insights.
All right, let's jump in. So let's paint a picture.
Yeah.
Think back to a workday where you felt incredibly productive.
Okay.
A day where you were really in the zone. What felt different about that day?
Yeah, what stood out?
For me, it's like everything else just faded away. Like there was only one thing that mattered.
Mm-hmm. Tunnel vision.
Yeah, like that laser focus on maybe a report, a presentation, a project. And that's something the chapter talks about, right? The intense focus on one single thing.
Yeah. You're not trying to juggle 10 things at once. It's about really going deep on just one. And it's interesting, too, because the chapter suggests that on those really productive days, you're also much better at dealing with distractions.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's almost like those little pings and notifications that usually derail me just don't have the same power.
Right. It's like they're there, but you're just not as susceptible to them.
Yeah. Usually my phone buzzing is like a magnet. But on those super focused days, I barely even notice it. And even if I do, my attention snaps right back to what I'm doing.
That's that mental resilience that the chapter talks about. Your attention wanders less, and when it does, you can bring it back much faster.
And it's not just about willpower, right? It's about something else that the chapter mentions, the level of challenge.
Mm-hmm.
The work can't be so hard that it's frustrating.
Right.
But it also can't be so easy that you're just on autopilot.
Yeah.
It's that sweet spot, right? That kind of flow state. Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, absolutely.
Where time just seems to disappear.
You blink and hours have gone by.
And you get so much done in that time, the chapter describes it so perfectly.
Yeah. It's that amazing alignment of your skills and the demands of the task. You're not bored, you're not overwhelmed, you're right in that sweet spot.
Yeah.
And what's remarkable is, even though you're deeply engaged, there's often very little resistance to continuing the work. You don't feel drained. It's almost energizing.
Yeah. It's strange, right? You'd think that kind of intense focus would just wipe you out mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of the opposite.
The chapter even mentions that even if you need to step away, the motivation to come back is still there.
Yeah. You're not trying to avoid it.
Right.
So all of these things, that intense focus, the resistance to distractions, the feeling of flow, the sustained motivation, they all point to what the chapter calls hyperfocus.
It's like your brain's peak productive state.
Yeah.
It's about expanding one task to fill your entire attentional capacity. It's not just focus, it's hyperfocus.
So for our listeners, this isn't just about trying to concentrate harder. It's a deliberate strategy.
Right.
It's about being intentional, about choosing that one important thing, blocking out distractions, and then really locking in.
Exactly. The chapter emphasizes that hyperfocus is intentional. It's free from distractions, and it allows you to quickly refocus if your mind does wander. It's a deep engagement with your work that often brings a sense of satisfaction, even relaxation.
It's true. There's something really rewarding about getting that one thing done. And the chapter actually makes a really interesting point that I think we need to talk about. It says that hyperfocus isn't a luxury. It can actually make you less busy.
That's a really counterintuitive idea, isn't it?
It is.
But when you think about it, it makes sense. By intentionally choosing what you let into your attentional space, you're actually freeing yourself up to really focus on what matters most in that moment.
It challenges the whole idea that we need to be constantly multitasking to be productive.
Right.
And the chapter even suggests that just 1 hour of this deep, concentrated work can be more productive than an entire unfocused day.
Especially in the kind of knowledge work that many of us do.
Yeah, where tasks have varying levels of importance.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a good grasp on what hyperfocus is. Now, the chapter moves into a discussion of where hyperfocus is most effective. And it makes this really interesting distinction when it comes to habits. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, the chapter makes a strong case that hyperfocus is best suited for productive or meaningful tasks that really require your full cognitive engagement.
Right.
And while you could try to apply that level of intense focus to a habit, like something you do almost automatically, the chapter outlines a couple of key reasons why that's not the most efficient use of your mental energy.
The first reason being, as I understand it, it's about mental resources.
Right.
Hyperfocus.
Right.
It takes willpower. It takes effort.
It's draining.
It's draining. And those are limited resources.
Right.
Habits, on the other hand, are designed to be automatic.
They run in the background.
Yeah.
So why expend all that mental energy on something your brain's already doing efficiently?
Yeah, it's like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut.
Exactly. Save that energy for the things that really need it.
And then there's the second point, which I found really fascinating. It actually suggests that our performance on habitual tasks can actually decline if we focus too much on them.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. It's almost counterintuitive.
It is.
Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. The chapter gives a few great examples. Think about something like walking.
Okay.
You do it without even thinking about it, right? But if someone suddenly points out how you walk and you start trying to control every step, you become really self-conscious.
Oh, yeah.
You might even trip or stumble.
That's so true.
That natural, efficient movement gets disrupted by overthinking.
It's like that feeling when you're playing a sport and you suddenly become aware of every little movement.
Right. And your game just falls apart.
Yeah.
That choking under pressure often comes from bringing too much conscious attention to a skill that should be automatic.
The chapter even talks about studies with skilled typists. The more attention they paid to the act of typing, the slower and less accurate they became.
Isn't that fascinating? So the takeaway here is to save that intense hyperfocus for the complex tasks that actually benefit from.
Right. Like those reports that require a lot of analysis, strategic planning, or those deep, meaningful conversations.
Exactly. And when you are hyper-focused on those kinds of tasks, the chapter points out that you often still have enough attentional capacity to keep your original intention in mind.
So it's like having this mental rudder that keeps you on track.
Exactly. It makes you less susceptible to distractions because you have that underlying awareness of what you're trying to achieve.
It's like having your why guiding your what. And this deeper level of engagement allows for more thorough thinking, better retention, enhanced learning, more creative problem solving.
All of which ultimately saves you time.
Yeah.
Right. By preventing yourself from getting sidetracked by less important things, you become so much more efficient in reaching your goals.
So we've got what hyperfocus is, we've got when it's most beneficial. Let's talk about the actual mechanics of getting into that state. The chapter breaks down the process into 4 stages.
Yeah, this is really helpful to understand how our attention works when we're trying to focus deeply.
Okay.
The chapter explains that at any moment, your focus is either on your external environment, your internal thoughts, or a combination of both.
Okay.
Hyperfocus happens when you bring both of those into alignment on one thing.
So it's not just about reacting to what's going on around you or getting lost in your thoughts.
Right.
It's about actively directing both your awareness and your thoughts toward a specific task or objective.
Exactly. And the chapter outlines 4 stages we typically experience when we're moving into hyperfocus.
Okay, let's hear them.
So first, there's that initial period of focused, productive work. You're in the groove, things are flowing. But then, inevitably, our minds start to wander. And the chapter assures us this is completely normal.
It's so reassuring to hear that, because I know my mind wanders all the time.
Oh, me too. It's just what minds do.
Yeah.
The third stage is becoming aware that your mind has drifted. The chapter says, on average, we notice this happening about 5 times an hour.
Okay.
Does that sound about right to you?
Honestly, I think mine might take a few more detours than that. But the key is that awareness, right?
Absolutely. If you don't realize you've drifted, you can't bring your attention back.
Exactly. And that brings us to the 4th stage, which is the act of consciously redirecting your focus back to your original object of attention.
Right. It's this cycle. Focusing, mind wandering, noticing the drift, refocusing. That's the essence of hyperfocus.
Okay, I like that. It's a process, a cycle. Now, building on these stages, the chapter gives us 4 actionable steps to intentionally enter hyperfocus. These are like the practical tools, right?
Exactly. Things you can actually do.
Yeah. Okay, so first step,
Choose a productive or meaningful object for your attention. This is where that intentionality comes in.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier about prioritizing the tasks that really matter.
Right.
Okay, step 2.
Eliminate as many distractions as you can, both external and internal.
So creating a distraction-free environment.
Exactly. Put your phone on silent, close unnecessary tabs on your computer.
Yeah.
Tell your family not to interrupt you, but also manage those internal distractions, those urges to check social media, to multitask, to worry about other things.
Okay, that makes sense.
The chapter really emphasizes the importance of being proactive about distractions because in the moment, those distractions often seem more appealing than the task at hand.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, step 3.
Actually focus.
Focus on that chosen object of attention for a set period of time.
Okay.
This might seem simple, but it requires a conscious commitment, especially in today's world.
Yeah. And then step 4.
Continually draw your focus back when it wanders.
This is the big one, right?
It is, because as we talked about, our minds wander a lot.
47% of the time.
47%, that's almost half our waking hours spent off task.
Wow. It really highlights how important it is to keep bringing our attention back.
It's a constant process. And the chapter also shares some interesting statistics about the cost of distractions.
Yeah, I remember reading that.
It takes, on average, about 22 minutes to fully return to a task after an external interruption.
Oh, wow.
And even longer, about 29 minutes after a self-initiated distraction.
So those little distractions can really add up over the course of a day.
They do.
So if we're going to boil it all down, the core of hyperfocus is about consciously keeping one important complex thing at the forefront of your mind as you work.
That's it.
It sounds simple, but it takes effort.
It does.
And that leads us to the next part, which is how to choose what you're going to focus on.
And the chapter starts this section with a really powerful statement. Attention without intention is wasted energy.
I love that. It's so true.
We can be busy, we can be working hard, but if our attention isn't directed with purpose, we're not being truly productive.
Right. The chapter makes it clear that setting an intention should always come first.
That intention is your guide, your compass. It helps you make conscious decisions about how you spend your time and energy.
And it brings back that 2x2 grid we talked about in an earlier episode.
Right.
The one about categorizing tasks as necessary, purposeful, unproductive, and so on.
And it encourages us to prioritize those tasks that are both necessary and purposeful, the ones that will actually move the needle.
Yeah.
It's about not getting caught up in just reacting to what feels urgent or easy, even if those tasks don't really matter in the long run.
The chapter actually suggests creating your own 2x2 grid of your current tasks.
I think that's a great exercise.
Yeah, to really see where your time and energy are going.
It helps you identify those areas where hyperfocus will be most beneficial.
And to help us with this intentionality, the chapter introduces 3 specific rituals we can use.
Rituals are great because they create structure and consistency.
You do. So the first one is the rule of 3.
Right. And this is all about choosing 3 key things you want to accomplish each day.
Okay.
Not your entire to-do list, just the 3 most important things.
So it forces you to really prioritize.
It does. And it also allows for flexibility. On a busy day, your 3 intentions might be smaller, but on a day with more free time, you can aim higher.
And it's not just about work, right? The chapter suggests using this for personal intentions too.
Absolutely. You can use the rule of 3 for any area of your life.
I love the example they give about using it during a conference.
Right. Instead of just saying, I'm going to attend talks, you could say, I'm going to connect with 5 new people.
That's a much clearer and more actionable intention.
It is.
Okay. Ritual number 2.
Your most consequential tasks. This is all about identifying those tasks that will have the biggest impact, both short-term and long-term.
Okay.
The chapter asks this great question: what will be different in the world, in your work, in your life, as a result of you doing this task?
It's about finding those domino tasks, the ones that trigger a chain reaction of positive outcomes.
And thinking about the second and third order consequences of your actions.
Right.
Sometimes the tasks that feel most urgent aren't actually the most important in the long run.
Like responding to emails versus working on that big project that will have a lasting impact.
Exactly.
Okay. Ritual number 3.
The hourly awareness chime.
Tell me about this one.
So this is about setting a timer to go off every hour.
Okay.
And when it goes off, you pause and take stock of what you're doing.
Okay.
Ask yourself, was my mind wandering? Am I working intentionally? Am I on a productive task? What's the most consequential thing I could be doing right now?
So it's like a regular check-in with yourself?
It is. It's about cultivating that meta-awareness, the ability to observe your own thoughts and attention.
The chapter says that over time, this can really increase the amount of time you spend working intentionally.
It's like training your mind to stay focused.
Yeah. And if you don't like the idea of a chime, you can use environmental cues instead.
Right, like finishing a meeting or transitioning between tasks.
Okay, so we've got our
No,
rituals.
it's like,
Now, the chapter takes it even further with something called implementation intentions.
this is about setting really specific intentions. It's based on the research of Peter Gollwitzer, who found that being specific with your intentions significantly increases your chances of success.
So instead of just saying, I want to exercise more, you would say, I'm going to go to the gym for 30 minutes during my lunch break on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Exactly. You're adding the when, the where, and the how.
The chapter gives some incredible statistics about the effectiveness of this.
Right. In one study, people with specific implementation intentions were much more likely to achieve their goals.
It's amazing how much of a difference that level of specificity makes.
It is. And the chapter explains that these implementation intentions work kind of like habits. They create this automatic link in your brain between a situation and an action.
So when you encounter that specific situation, like your lunch break arriving,
Right.
it triggers the intended action.
Exactly.
It bypasses that initial resistance, that decision fatigue.
Right.
But the chapter does mention a couple of caveats.
Of course. The first is that you have to actually care about the intention.
Yeah, no amount of specificity is going to make you pursue a goal you're not passionate about.
Right.
And the second is that simple tasks don't really require this level of detail.
Right. If it's something you're already doing easily, you don't need an elaborate plan.
Okay, so we've got our powerful intentions. Let's talk about how to actually start a hyper-focus session.
So the first thing is to get a sense of how long you can comfortably sustain that hyperfocus.
Okay.
The chapter suggests checking in with yourself, especially for difficult tasks. Start with shorter blocks, maybe 15 minutes, with breaks in between.
Okay.
And gradually increase the duration as you get more comfortable.
Like training a muscle.
Exactly.
The chapter also emphasizes scheduling those hyper-focus sessions in advance.
Especially during busy weeks. Treat those times as sacred, non-negotiable appointments.
Protect that time.
Yes.
And of course, set a timer.
Right. But be mindful of using your phone as a timer.
Because that could be a distraction in itself.
Exactly. Maybe use a watch or a kitchen timer instead.
And the core of the ritual, as we've talked about, is bringing your attention back when it wanders.
That's the practice.
Yeah. The chapter does make a good point, though. If you're in a flow state, when the timer goes off, don't stop if you're still making progress.
Right. The timer is a guide, not a dictator.
Okay. So when should we hyperfocus?
Well, ideally, as much as possible.
Okay.
The more time you spend in that state, the more productive you'll be.
Yeah. But realistically, when you have a block of uninterrupted time and an important task or project that requires your full attention, that's the perfect opportunity.
Right. And it can be particularly helpful for those complex tasks that really demand deep thinking.
Yeah. And this might sound counterintuitive, but the chapter also suggests using hyperfocus for the tasks you tend to avoid.
The boring ones, the frustrating ones.
Yeah, because by focusing your attention on them, you can break through that initial resistance.
Exactly. It's a way to combat procrastination.
Okay. Last but not least, the chapter touches on the idea of building your focus muscle over time.
Right. It reminds us that our ability to hyperfocus is influenced by a lot of things.
Like our tendency to seek novelty, our habits around multitasking, the amount of mental clutter we carry, our level of meta-awareness.
It even mentions things like mood and diet.
Yeah.
And the key takeaway here is that everyone starts at a different place, and that's okay.
Yeah. The author shares a personal story about their own struggles with focus early on.
Right.
And how, through practice, they were able to significantly increase their capacity for hyperfocus.
It's a skill you can develop.
Yeah, it's encouraging.
It is.
So, to wrap it all up, hyperfocus isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter.
Right. It's about directing your attention intentionally.
And this chapter has given us a framework for understanding what hyperfocus is, when to use it, how to set those powerful intentions, and how to actually start building this skill.
So as you're thinking about your week ahead, think about where you can apply these principles.
Which of the intention-setting rituals we discussed resonated most with you?
Which one feels like something you could actually implement?
Experiment. Pick one or two strategies and see how they work for you.
We'd love to hear about your experiences.
Yes, share your thoughts in the comments or reach out to us directly.
This is a conversation we're all in together.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the power of hyperfocus.
Until next time,
Keep exploring, keep growing.
and keep focusing on what truly matters.
We'll see you in the next chapter.